fantasies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind and on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind and on my mental. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental health. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental. Mind and my mental health.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenetria Williams. Thank you so much for joining me. I do not take it lightly that you spend your midday with me. So again, thank you so much. If you will do me a favor, I would appreciate it greatly. If you will hashtag live, let me know where you are watching from. Also, I'd like you to help me spread the word on social media. So please, tag your friends, tag your family, share this video so that I will have more reach. Also, if you would like, share, comment, all of those things on this. It helps with the algorithms to get this broadcast out to more people. The more people I reach, the more impact I can have. So again, I'm asking that you would please use this as a tool to spread the word. I'm actually going to do the same. If you will give me a moment, I'm sharing it to groups that I am a part of and all of that wonderful stuff. So again, hashtag live. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you're doing today. If you're at lunch, where you're watching from. Also, if you are watching from YouTube or Facebook, I would appreciate knowing that. I'm trying to get a kind of better understanding of where people are watching from. Okay. I'm going to actually share this one other space before we get into it. Why? Because I want to give people time to jump on. I know this is a lot of people's lunch break and they have to take a moment to kind of clock out or walk out and go get their lunch and heat it up and all of that type of stuff. So I want to give people the opportunity to do that. All right. All right, so let's get into this. So today's topic, I'm actually talking about 10 signs, and I actually have more than 10 on my notes. I'm going to try to get to at least the 10, and if we have time, we may do a couple bonus signs. But today we're talking about 10 signs that that are found in healthy relationships. Hey, Courtney, 10 signs that are found in healthy relationships that actually may be a little surprising to people. Sometimes people don't always understand that, the relationships, things that they're seeing may or may not be healthy. So sometimes we're bringing in expectations that are unhealthy because of things we've seen in our past. And sometimes we're avoiding things that actually are healthy because of things we've seen in our past. And so many people believe that a couple who has disagreements, or a happy couple or healthy couple, they would never have disagreements. Well, that's not true. The truth is healthy relationships aren't defined by the absence of conflict. They are defined by how couples handle situations that arise. Thank you so much for tagging Courtney. I'm reminded when I saw a post recently by my pastor, and she was basically saying, hey, us healthy couples out here, we're not fighting over nitpicking 50-50, who did the dishes yesterday, making an issue out of every little small thing, right? And that perspective really stuck with me. And so what I want to talk about is some things that you're going to see in healthy relationships that actually may surprise you. So many people are surprised to learn that things like conflict, boundaries, feedback, and even really tough conversations are not red flags. They're actually not red flags. They're actually signs of strength. This topic is about shifting how we view healthy relationships and uncovering surprising truths that help us to thrive in relationships. So if you're ready to get into this, put a 1 in the comment. And if I say something, if you have comments, the more comments and interaction we have, the better that helps with the algorithm. So again, share, tag, like, comment, do all of those things, give hearts, give fire, all of those things to help with the algorithms. So let's look at number 1. The first thing that people are often surprised with is healthy relationships do have conflict, right? Now, conflict does not mean a fight. Conflict means a disagreement or a different way to see things, differing perspectives, right? So conflict is not the opposite of love. It's a natural part of two people living together. I tell people all the time, if you are expecting that, I actually told a client this week, I said, if you're expecting for your partner to be like you all the time and agree with you, that's not going to happen. Not all the time. You're two different people. You have two different backgrounds. You were raised differently. You were raised in different homes with differing values and all of those things, different experiences. You bring that into the table. And I think sometimes we forget or we miss the fact that our partner is not supposed to just be a clone of us. We're supposed to be complementary to one another, right? And so we help each other. We cover each other. An area that I may be strong in, my partner may be needing more encouragement in that area, and vice versa. Area that I may need encouragement and my partner may be strong. That way we are able to cover each other's weaknesses, and together we can be really a strong force, a really strong unit. So again, conflict is not the absence of love. What makes healthy relationships isn't the absence of conflict, but the way we handle it. Okay. Healthy couples fight fair. That means there are actual rules and guidelines to how they deal with conflict. People are often surprised when they learn that people have rules in their relationship. And when I mean rules, I don't necessarily mean like something posted on the wall, though that is not unhealthy either. But what I'm talking about is there are healthy rules that they've decided, hey, if we do that, that is crossing or that is breaking a rule. For example, in conflict, we decide we don't name call. We decide we don't hit below the belt, meaning we don't talk about those things that we know are sensitive in a mean, hurtful way. That doesn't mean we can't talk about sensitive areas. That means we don't try to hurt people by giving that dig that we know would hurt them. Stonewalling, meaning we don't just shut down when we are in conflict. So these are all rules that help to guide conflict. Why is this important? Couples come into my office all the time, and I say office, my virtual office. They come in all the time and they don't have established guidelines that will actually help them to navigate tough conversations, right? A lot of us didn't learn these skills growing up in school. And so it's okay to say, hey, I don't really know how to deal with conflict. I always shut down or I always lash out. That's okay if that's how you've done it in the past. What is not okay is for you to stay stuck, right? Or you could, but it's healthier if you decide, hey, I want to learn and I want to be open to grow so I can learn these skills. So the first thing is to recognize that conflict can be healthy. In fact, if you learn how to handle conflict effectively and in a healthy way, it can be something that strengthens your relationship. Not necessarily the actual conflict, but the fact that you know you can work through it. Right? There are people who actively avoid conflict because they are so terrified of where things go when conflict happens. They say things that are so hurtful that they don't always feel safe in conflict, right? And so learning how to navigate that can be one of the most powerful things you can do for your relationship. And I'm going to go ahead, I usually wait till the end, but I'm going to go ahead and say, if you and your spouse don't know how to navigate conflict, give me a call. I have a whole course of effective communication courses that can help you walk through how to learn to effectively communicate with your partner. So don't just keep struggling in this cycle of, I don't know how to communicate, and all of our arguments in an aggression, even if that's just verbal. We still don't want that. We want to be able to learn how to do that. Healthy couples have learned how to navigate conflict effectively. A couple may disagree about finances, but instead of yelling and shutting down, they set a time to talk calmly. and explore. One of the things that I have learned is to tell people not to see your spouse as your enemy, but to see you and your partner as teammates against the problem. That is a different perspective, because if you see your partner as your enemy, what do we do to our enemy? We say things like all is fair in love and war, right? And so if I see you as an enemy, I may not think about the rules. I may break the rules. But if I see you as my teammate, my partner in this thing called life, and I see this issue as our enemy, or we're able to work together. Even if all of our ideas don't align, we're able to look at it and say, hey, let's approach this from a way of seeing us against the issue and not us against each other. You never want to see your partner as the villain. Conflict is a chance to gain understanding more deeply, gain a deeper understanding about your partner. So here's my question for you. How do you usually handle conflict? Is it with avoidance, aggression, or openness? Okay. How do you and your partner typically handle conflict? Is it avoidance? Is it aggression or openness? Okay. So the first thing you may be surprised to find in healthy relationships is conflict. You may be surprised that a lot of couples actually do have conflict, but they handle it in a way sometimes that it doesn't even appear to be conflict, right? There are times my husband and I may not see things the same way, but we will dialogue and talk about it and come to a resolution. And if people looked at it from the outside and just watched the interaction, they may have even said that wasn't conflict, because we didn't get angry. We didn't have to yell at each other. We simply dialogued back and forth, and we talked about pros and cons, and we weren't married to our ideas, and we were open to hearing the other perspective. And so it came out, okay, well, that's what we're going to do. Right. In that moment, though, I have also recognized when he and I are having these conversations, and I will say in past relationships, this may have actually turned into a all out disagreement fight, because those skills were not incorporated into the communication style. Right. And so it's really important that we learn that. So that's the first thing. You may be surprised to know that healthy couples or healthy relationships do have conflict. They have just learned the art of handling them effectively. The second thing you may be surprised to see in healthy relationships is interdependence, not codependence, interdependence. So what does that mean? Interdependence means that both partners have a strong sense of individuality, but they also rely on each other in balanced ways. So your partner is not trying to be you. You are not trying to be them. You can exist independently without them, right? So if your partner had to go away for a while on a business trip, you are just fine to operate. You know how to handle yourself. Emotionally, you will be okay. However, there is a connection that says, hey, I do still need my partner. I still desire them. And that helps to balance us out. In unhealthy relationship, one person loses themselves or becomes overly dependent on the other person. In healthy relationships, interdependence and connection exist. So independence and connection exist. That's where you have that interdependence, right? And that again is saying I'm individually fine by myself. But yes, I do depend on my partner for certain things, but I also know how to be balanced as an individual as well. Okay. So for example, a person who this may look like one partner taking a solo trip, saying, hey, I just need some time alone, and going off, or taking a girl's trip or a guy's trip, and the other person not feeling drained, nervous, insecure, jealous, any of those things, because they are okay by themselves, but they also know that that person needs their own space, their own life, their own goals and things like that. So there is a strong we in the interdependence, but there is also two healthy me's. Does that make sense? There's a strong we, but there's also a healthy me, right? So I am Tenitria in this marriage. Kevin is Kevin in this marriage, but we have a strong we. Hey, Shannon, hope you can join and give us some insight as well. Open to hearing some feedback. So we're talking about things that may surprise you that are found in healthy relationships. The first thing we said was conflict is found in healthy relationships, but they've learned how to navigate through that. The second thing we said was interdependence, not codependence, but interdependence. Number 3, this is really, really important. Boundaries are respected. So many times people will violate boundaries in relationships because they feel that they have the right. You're my spouse. I should have access to everything that is yours. There is no privacy, there is no boundary. That is just typically, you're not going to see that often in healthy relationships. Healthy relationships have boundaries. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the boundaries are the same for each relationship, because there are couples who have the password to each other's phones, and there are couples who don't have the passwords to each other's phone. This issue is not about a password. This issue is about a boundary and being able to respect those boundaries that you both have established. So boundaries are not walls, but they are guardrails. They create safety. In healthy relationships, both partners express what they need. For example, some partners may need time alone more than the other person. They may even need a break in the middle of conflict, right? So conflict, one person may say, I need to step away for a few minutes to calm down, and that's a boundary for them. The other person's going to say, okay, I can respect that you need that time. That is a part of respecting boundaries. Limiting to what we share with other people, right? There are couples who don't have that boundary of what we share with whom we share this information. And so respecting the boundary says, hey, we don't talk about any drama or trauma or anything that's going on with our in-laws, for example. That doesn't mean you can't never say anything to someone about what's going on in your relationship, but there may be a boundary that says we don't talk about it with our in-laws, or we don't talk about it with our close girlfriends or guy friends, or maybe even just this particular person. We don't talk about it with the opposite sex, people that are not mutual friends of each other or whatever. Like, these are specific boundaries that you two have established as a couple. Boundaries are important, and it becomes a major issue of contention when you don't respect the boundaries of each other. So one partner saying, I don't want to be yelled at, and the other partner making that adjustment even if they're frustrated. I'm working with couples. Sometimes it's this person's yelling and the other person will say, well, I yell with everybody. That's not a valid reason to continue to yell at the person that says, I don't want to be yelled at. And so if you're yelling at that person, if they say, hey, I don't want to be yelled at, that boundary representation would be or respect would be, okay, I'm frustrated, so I'm going to have to learn how to pause so I can come back and have the conversation without yelling. Okay. Saying, hey, I need a 10-minute cool down period. Or if someone says, hey, I don't want to be called this thing, I don't ever want to be talked to in this way, respecting those boundaries, that is very important. If I say, I'm going to use, if I were to call my husband boy, okay, that would be, if he were to say, hey, I don't want you to call me boy, and I continue to call him boy when we are getting in conflict, that would be me ignoring what he's asking for. And so therefore not really respecting that boundary. And if he says, if you continue to call me boy, I'm going to, do this thing, I'm going to leave this conversation, I'm going to do that. He has every right to do that. But again, we're talking about respecting boundaries. And so if you are the person on the other end, maybe even discussing, there are times where a boundary can trigger someone else. What do I mean? So for people who have things like abandonment issues, when the other person says, I need time away, they are actually hearing, I need to leave in this moment, begins to feel like someone's about to leave them or about to abandon them. And so they get really, really, again, kind of triggered or kind of uncomfortable in that moment. And maybe they start to act a different way. So in healthy communication, you're going to be able to talk about and say, when you say I need a moment to calm down, can you also reassure me that you're coming back? Because that makes me uncomfortable when you say I need to leave. But I also want to be able to respect your need for that space. That is healthy communication. Yes, Shannon says, we talk to each other about what we should talk about to others. Absolutely. And I find myself listening more to hear instead of listening to say what I need to say. I still need to hear the heart of my husband. Yes, we have to know and hear the heart of our partner. Choosing not to share passwords or social media accounts and it being respected. These are all things when we're talking about boundaries. Having family boundaries. Again, things that we do and don't discuss with our in-laws, or things that we do and don't discuss with our friends. Respecting work, rest, or spiritual boundaries. Understanding that your partner may need some quiet time, gym time, prayer time, and you don't have to take that personally. If you guys will do me a favor, if you will share this, if this is helping you, if you will share this to your story, share this to your page, and tag some people that could also benefit from them. What happens without boundaries? Well, when there are no boundaries, one person begins to feel resentful because they feel like their needs are consistently overlooked. Then they get in self-preservation mode, and that's not a healthy place. Small issues build into bigger conflict because no one is feeling heard. And then the relationship becomes out of balance. One partner controls while the other person complies. This is not supposed to be mother-child. This is supposed to be healthy connection, right? A partnership. And so it is really important that we understand that without boundaries, our relationship will get out of balance. Boundaries do not push love away. They actually are there to help protect love. This is how I show up best for you, okay? So here's the reflection question. Where in your relationship do you need clearer boundaries so both of you can feel safe and respected? Where in your relationship do you need clearer boundaries so that you both feel respected and loved and heard? Okay. Number 4, this is a really good one. Number 4, this is something you may be surprised to find in healthy relationships. Feedback is welcomed and even sometimes planned. Feedback is welcomed and oftentimes planned. What do I mean? Feedback. Yesterday, my husband came in and said, "How are you doing? How is your love tank? Is there anything that I'm doing that in communication that you would like me to stop, or that you want me to be aware of that you don't like?" Right? He is inviting me to give him feedback. We do this pretty regularly, probably once or twice a week. Hey, how are things going? Is there something that I've done or I'm doing that I need to stop, or that is rubbing you the wrong way? We are seeking feedback. Why? Feedback is an opportunity for us to grow. Now, I can give him information that I like or dislike. It is the mature thing to do is to be able to hear that feedback without taking it personally, without getting defensive. Most of the time, even if we ask for feedback, if we are not emotionally mature, when people actually give us feedback, what happens? We get defensive. So, for example, if your partner says, or you ask your partner, "Hey, is there anything that I could do differently?" And your partner says, "Hey, yeah, I really don't appreciate the way you speak to me when you're angry." "Well, the only reason I speak to you like that is because you don't." Well, you asked for the feedback. Be willing to hear the feedback. How can you be willing to hear that feedback to say, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize that I was coming off in that way. Tell me more. Can you provide an example for me?" Ask questions, lean into it so that you can be more open to actually, again, being able to grow in that area. Because everything you hear as an attack is not meant to be an attack. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Everything that you hear as an attack is not always meant to be an attack. So again, if I tell Courtney some feedback about attitude, right? If I give Courtney some feedback about her attitude during something, and she then feels attacked, that's not necessary unless I attacked her. If I verbally or aggressively attacked her. But if I just gave her some feedback, that's actually not on me. That's on Courtney to be able to hear. And we have to be able to hear feedback and give it in a way that is not destructive and chastising. So even though my husband asked me, are there things that I'm doing or that I could do better? He's seeking feedback, right? I could take that opportunity to beat him down, or I can simply say, yeah, I would like you to do this more often, or I would like you to do this less often. And again, we have these check-ins often, and healthy couples actually check in. Sometimes they have scheduled check-in times. So do you have a check-in time with your partner? And if not, why not? Do you have a check-in time? And if not, why do you not have a check-in time? Are you afraid of what you're going to hear? Are you afraid of hearing things about yourself that maybe you don't want to hear? We do a relationship check-in to obtain feedback and to ensure we're meeting each other's needs. Very good. You need that. One partner may say, I feel more connected when we have dinner without our phones. The other partner doesn't have to say, oh, that's silly. Well, I'm still sitting right here. We're still talking. No, the other partner, if they're listening and really trying to hear, they'll go, okay, I didn't realize that the phone was kind of taking away from your feelings of connectedness. I can put that phone away. That's not a problem. Do you invite feedback from your partner, or do you get defensive? These are questions that you have to, or you need to answer for yourself internally. Do I invite feedback? And if I receive feedback, do I get defensive? Am I open to actually hear? Yeah, Shannon, we do want to invite feedback, right? We want to say, hey, what area? Because think about this. How do you know you're being a good wife or a good husband? And you're just basing it on what you do, because you're not an actual wife or husband to yourself. You're a husband or wife to the other person. So they have to be your litmus test. Hey, how am I doing in this area? Do you feel safe to communicate with me? We always ask it this way: how is your love tank? Which is saying, are you feeling empty? Are you feeling fueled up? Do you need something? Do you need more? My husband recently was saying, hey, I know your love language is acts of service. Do you need me to do more things around here? Again, speaking why. It's not because when you're seeking that, that means you're seeking to grow and ways to fill them up and not to avoid responsibility. Okay, so that's number 4. You'll find this in healthy relationships. Feedback is welcomed and oftentimes planned. Number 5, tough conversations are a part of the culture. Tough conversations are a part of the culture. That doesn't mean they have to happen all the time, because if you have good, healthy communication, oftentimes a lot of things don't feel as tough, right? But they should be a part of the conversation. So an example would be finances, sex, in-laws, parenting, faith. These things are not always easy topics, but avoiding them can create a huge sense of distance and disconnectedness from family. Healthy couples lean into the hard takes because they know that silence can build resentment. Okay. Couples talk about debt before marriage, setting expectations and goals instead of hiding them. These are examples of things that you want to do. You want to be able to talk about finances. You want to be able to say, hey, I'm actually struggling in this area, and I'm not trying to pretend I've got it all together. Or you want to be able to say, even if it's just the way we handle money. Maybe you're a spender. Maybe I'm a saver. We need to talk about those things. They're tough conversations, but if we don't talk about them and come to a resolution or come to an understanding, it is very difficult for us to have that true connectedness. One of the topics that I found a lot of couples avoid is sex. I didn't say couples didn't have sex. I said they avoid talking about it. Research shows there is what they call the orgasm gap. Now, I know you guys probably was like, I didn't know we were going to talk about that. Well, we're just talking about having tough conversations. Let me read what it says here. It says, for women in heterosexual relationships reported fewer orgasms than men, and the gap can range from approximately 20 to over 50%, depending on the study and the specific demographics. Data from 2024 studies showed that men reported higher orgasm rates up to 70 to 85%. Now think about that number, 70 to 85% more than women, and their rate was 45 to 58%. So if there is an orgasm gap, guess what there probably is also? A communication gap. Most of the time there is an orgasm gap because there is a communication gap, and people are, yes, those can be uncomfortable conversations, but they are needed conversations. And sometimes it's as simply as simple as saying, hey, I really would prefer you do this rather than that. Hey, I need this more than that. Can you hold me tighter? Can you not hold me so tight? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can we talk more throughout the day so that our connection is stronger during our physical intimacy time? Can we do this so that I'm not so exhausted? These are tough communication topics, but they are needed if we're going to close the orgasm gap. And again, these are tough conversations, but healthy couples are able to navigate tough conversations. Okay. It is not just about, you hear it all the time. Rarely do you ever hear someone talking about a man faking it, but you will often hear that about a woman. Did she fake an orgasm? And the reason for that is because why would people fake things like that? Because they're uncomfortable being more direct and having that conversation. Like, hey, this is what I need in order to feel fulfilled, right? We need to have those types of conversations. I need more of this. I need less of this. This drives me crazy. Do that every time, right? Those are specific conversations, and you have to be willing to come into these types of conversations with an open mind, without defensiveness, right? Because again, there are people who have past trauma that could be impacting these things. There are, if you grew up as a Christian, there are a lot of things. Okay, Shannon, tell me what you mean. Shannon says, unless the orgasm is supposed to be hit and miss for women. Talk about that. Talk about that a little bit more so I can understand what you're talking about or what you're saying. A lot of times in the Christian communities, sex for women in particular, it was just don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it until you're married. And then you get married and you're supposed to have this amazing sex. How are we supposed to know those things without some communication? So if you've gotten married, now you have to communicate with your spouse, and you may even say, I don't even know what I need or what I like, but I'm open to exploring. Those are tough conversations, but they are needed. And I'm not just talking sex now, I'm talking in any area of your life. There may be some things that you have to be able to say, I don't even know what I want or need in this area, but can we explore that together? That is an openness and a vulnerability that's needed. Okay, because sometimes husbands won't ask, but guess what, most of the time it's the woman who's saying she's not having the orgasm. So it's also important for the woman to be able to speak up and say, hey, can we talk about our sex life? Now watch this, women, wives, don't go in saying I'm not getting the pleasure and you're not doing it right. That's not the right approach, right? The point is for you to be able to go in and say, hey, I would like to talk about ways that we can enhance our sexual relationship. Most men are going to be cool with that. Most men are like, you want to enhance, meaning more often, doing it, having more pleasure. I am cool with that. How can we enhance that? Right. And so enhancement may mean, here's some things that I would like for us to try. Here's some things that I've been thinking about. Here's some things that I would like us to do differently, or here's some things that I'm open to. Right. And so keeping that conversation in a healthy way without attacking your partner is also very important, which actually leads into the next thing that you would be surprised to find. You may be surprised to find in healthy relationships: vulnerability. In healthy relationships, you're going to find that both people are able to be vulnerable with one another. Healthy love isn't about perfection, it's about feeling safe. And I am in a healthy relationship, you can feel safe, which means I feel comfortable to be vulnerable. You can share your fears, your past wounds, your current struggles, and know that your partner won't shame you. Okay. This is something that I think a lot of people have to work on when their partner shares things with them. That is not the, especially if they are sharing something that you know is difficult for them to share. That is not the time for you to become the morality police. It is not the time for you to beat them upside the head. It is not the time for you to shame them. I would never do such a thing. It is a time for you to hear them and try to understand their perspective. That doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but it is not the time for you to try to shame. Okay. So if your partner says, hey, I've really been struggling with X, Y, or Z. I'm struggling with money right now. And I know I want to be the leader or the, blah, blah, blah. But right now I'm struggling and I actually need your help. That's not the moment to go off and talk about how they're supposed to be leading. That's the moment to say, hey, how can I help you? What's going on? Get more information without shaming, right? Because ultimately, this is our relationship. And so if we are going to win, we are both going to have to participate. Go ahead and put that in the comment. We are both going to have to participate. This is not left up to, I wish my partner could hear this. This conversation is not about what your partner needs to hear. It's about what can I do to help. Okay. So in healthy relationships, that vulnerability feels safe. If you are uncomfortable bringing up a vulnerable topic, what I have found is actually telling your partner that you're about to say something that makes you feel very vulnerable. So please be kind with you can often help. For example, if you tell someone something and you don't want them to laugh, it's okay to say, hey, I'm about to say something and I'm actually being very serious. So please don't make fun of me when I share it with you. Okay. Why is that? Because if you just say it and they are caught off guard, they may respond in a way that um, doesn't really isn't conducive to that growth. But if you give them the heads up, hey, I'm about to say this, they are able to kind of brace themselves so that they can respond in a healthy way. So, okay, I'm going to give an example, and okay, a made up example, but just hear me. Let's say you had to use the restroom and you use the restroom on yourself on the way home in traffic. You got stuck. Okay, you tell your partner, okay, I'm about to share something with you, and I know now a lot of times, which kind of goes into the next one, you say, I'm about to share something and I'm actually very, very sensitive about it. So please, please, please don't make uh jokes about this because I'm actually in tears. But I just peed on myself in traffic, right? Okay. Giving your partner that heads up is gonna help them. Now, if you just said, I'm in traffic and I just peed on myself, they may start laughing at you, right? They may have a response. But if you've given them that heads up, they'll at least try to reel it in if they can, right? And so being able to say that can help ease into those vulnerable conversations. Vulnerability is a bridge to emotional intimacy. A husband may admit that he feels insecure about his job, about maybe he has a job and his wife may make more than him, or he may feel some way about the fact that he's still grieving over a loss of a loved one. Any of those things can be very vulnerable, and if someone shares those things with you, you want to make sure that you handle it with care. When was the last time you allowed yourself? Here's your reflection question. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be fully real/vulnerable in your relationship? When was the last time you allowed yourself to be fully real and vulnerable in your relationship? I want you to think about that for a minute. Number 7, laughter and playfulness. Okay, so I just gave the example about someone peeing. Now, if I called my husband and told him that, he would probably laugh at me. I'm going to be real honest. He probably would. You're like, what happened, girl? And he would probably have all kinds of jokes. Now, again, if I gave that heads up that please don't laugh, he would say, okay, I'm not going to laugh. He would probably let me know that he still had jokes for me. But laughter and playfulness is something that you will find in a healthy relationship, which means there may be some jokes where you kind of pick at each other. There may be some moments. You don't want to do those areas where they're sensitive and they actually hurt the other person's feelings. But you want to do things that are just fun. Even if you're not poking fun at each other, you want to have some time where you do things that are fun. That may mean laughing, getting a show where you both laugh, doing an activity together that's funny, doing things like playing a game. If you both like Uno, for example, you go in there and say, okay, tonight it's on me and you, we're going to play. When's the last time you played with your spouse in a way that you both were like genuinely cracking each other up? These are important aspects to building connection. Yeah, absolutely. Kevin would have all kinds of jokes if that happened to me. Okay. So keeping laughter is important. Couples that laugh together last together. Humor and play protect against stress and help to keep joy. Now, that doesn't mean that everything is a joke. What that does mean is that you're able to respect the space of, hey, everything doesn't also have to be super serious all the time. We're able to laugh through some things. A couple could have an inside joke, playing things, like I said, playing a game of Uno, playing anything. These are ways that you actually build strong connection, whether people recognize that or not. People don't always see the playfulness in a relationship, but it's so important that you're able to play together. And sometimes what will happen is we are very playful, or jolly with those outside of our home, and when we get inside, we're all work. We got to handle the bills, we got to handle this, and everything is so strict. And they're looking and go, what happened to that joy you just had with when you were talking to um your sorority sisters, or when you're talking to the people at church, or when you were doing that? Where did that joy go? Why didn't we bring that joy in the house? We want to see that joy across the board, right? um Okay, he said, okay, so Shannon said her husband had a accident actually, and she was horrified. And he said, you can laugh while you get the first aid kit. So he was giving her permission. Listen, babe, you can go ahead and laugh because this was a funny moment for him. And so again, I think it's really important that we don't diminish laughter. And so how you have to be intentional about making time to laugh and play with your partner. So your assignment or your reflection questions: when's the last time that me and my partner genuinely did something together? Not just laughing at them at something, but we did something that we both said, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And if it's been a while, find time to do something that will make you laugh, make you feel free, fun, all of those types of things. Doing something new, even, because new things can challenge you to get outside of your comfort zone and give you a new experience. Okay, something else you may be surprised to find in healthy relationships is that individual growth is encouraged. Individual growth is encouraged. So it's not just about things that we do together. I'm encouraging you to take that extra class that'll help your certification. I'm encouraging you, hey, yeah, if you feel like you need to do some counseling, go do that. I'm encouraging you to take that course that's going to help you with your business or your whatever. Oftentimes, when you see someone that's not encouraging of the individual growth, it is because there is a fear that if one person grows, the other person will fears being left behind. And so you want to make sure that even in your growth endeavors, you assure your person, if they are growing in a different way. You do want to encourage both people to continue to grow. But if they are growing in a different way, you can say, hey, I'm not trying to leave you. I'm not taking these courses so I can, quote unquote, outgrow you and leave you. I'm taking these so I can be a better person for myself, and I can then show up differently in this relationship, or even better, not necessarily differently all the time, but show up as a better version in this relationship. Healthy relationships aren't threatened by one person's growth. Education, career shifts, hobbies, spiritual growth, partners need to cheer each other on. Now, again, this can be a point of contention when you talk about one person growing and the other person not necessarily doing those things. For example, you could have a couple and one person, maybe neither one of them went to college and one goes to college. And she decides it's been years, they've been fine, neither one getting a college degree. Then that one person goes to college and gets a degree. The other person can start to feel some type of way. That person who got that degree may decide, hey, I want to keep going. I want to keep going until I'm a doctor. Well, this one person, again, it's important that you can speak to them and say, hey, this is for my growth, not to outgrow you. But it's also important for that other person to be encouraging, hey, I'm not intimidated by you being better. I'm not intimidated by your growth. Go, girl, do your thing. I love you, and I'm still here to hold it down for you, right? A wife that goes back to school, or a husband that rearranges his schedule to support her. When we grow, the relationship grows, or at least has the opportunity. Helping me is designed to help us. When one grows, again, the relationship grows. Do you feel celebrated when you're pursuing your dreams? If not, this is a conversation to have. Not one about you don't support me, but this is a conversation to say, hey, I've noticed you were always supportive when I did so and so, and it doesn't always feel as supportive now. Is there something that's changing that we need to discuss, right? Having that opportunity to discuss those things. Because there are moments that I've had more than one time, more than a few actually, where a wife will come in and they'll say things like, my husband says he's cool with me being in therapy as long as I don't come in and now want to leave him. And I'll say, I can't make any promises. I can't promise you, because oftentimes there are moments where people have this awakening of, wow, this isn't this isn't healthy for me. But that's not necessarily the purpose going into it, that they were going to leave their spouse. They did grow. So what I would say, if you're at the other spouse and you're seeing this person grow, instead of getting intimidated by, have the conversation and say, how can I grow with them? Maybe it's not getting a degree, but I can still grow as a partner, as a spouse, and it may not look like the same level of growth or the same way that they are growing, but growth is still important. We both need to be growing. Okay. Which goes into number 9. Number 9, things that you will see in a healthy relationship that may surprise people. People don't always recognize how much sacrifice goes into a healthy relationship. And I'm not talking about the sacrifice where you're complaining about it, just the sacrifice of, hey, if you need to do that, that means I'm going to have to adjust my schedule so that you can do that. I have, you know, I may have a class on a certain day, which means that my husband may need to do certain responsibilities of the house because I'm involved in doing a class during that time. Okay. So that's a sacrifice for him. It's not that he's saying, oh, she's more important than me, but he makes a sacrifice. But likewise, he may have to make a trip for work or have to do something and says, hey, can you cover these responsibilities because I'm not going to be there? Of course, these are sacrifices. There are times where someone may work 2 jobs because someone is pursuing a degree. Someone may have a heavier load because someone else is doing something else. The point is, you sacrifice is a part of it, but it should not ever be just one-sided all the time. Okay, so what do I mean? There may be seasons where it feels one-sided, but those seasons should not always be fall. It should not always be winter. If it's always winter, we're out of balance. If it's always summer, we're out of balance. We're not getting the other. We should have 4 seasons, right? And so there may be a season, though, again, if someone is going to back to school, if someone is having a child, if there is a career change, if there is physical health issues, all of these things this is a season where things may be a little more out of balance. If you have to have a major surgery, there are a lot of responsibilities that other person may have to carry on. As you recover and you are in a healthy space again, that should start to balance out. And so I think this is not just in marriage or relationships, right? It is literally relationships in general. There are seasons where there may be a heavier load for one person. They're making a sacrifice, but then in another season that may shift some. And so if you recognize that, that's important. But sacrifice is very important. And sacrifice is not about losing yourself. So the reason many people don't want to sacrifice is because the fear of being taken advantage of comes to play. Okay. So if I'm the one who's working 2 jobs so that they can get a degree, what happens when they get that degree? Are they just going to, forget about me or think they're better than me? Well, not in a healthy relationship. That mindset is, yes, of course, I'm willing to do this hard thing so that my spouse can get this goal that they have. And once they get that goal, hey, together, they may be able to take some of the load off of me, right? So it is definitely, when we're talking sacrifice, we're talking both parts or both parties. Love isn't just about a feeling, it's about choices. In every healthy relationship, there are moments where both partners have to give up something for a greater good in the relationship. Sacrifice, when I say sacrifice, I'm not talking about losing yourself or you being the one who's constantly giving. It means choosing to put the relationship first so that both people can thrive together. And again, that may be differing seasons. There's a time where you may spend more time with the kids, but there may be a time when I spend more time with the kids, or there may be a time when you're doing more household work, but there may be a time where I'm doing more household work. But together we are still balanced because we're both doing something that is going towards the greater good, the greater goal for our family in this relationship. Okay. So I may plan to go out with some friends tonight, and my partner says, I am really not feeling great. I need your emotional support. And a sacrifice would be, you know what? I'm willing to be here for you to do that. That's also an example of a sacrifice, right? Adjusting preferences, like, okay, I know you love the beach and you love the mountains. Well, I want to go to the beach every time, but I'm willing to go to the mountains. Those are also sacrifices. Taking turns carrying extra responsibility when the other person is feeling overwhelmed. There are times, again, because of what I do, there are people who deal with depression, anxiety, and their spouse may go, they were feeling, I could tell they were in a really low spot. Yeah, I stepped up and I took on more tasks during that time. To help them to get in a healthy space. And once they were in a healthy space, we got things more balanced, or they were able to do those things. That's not uncommon. You will find that sacrifice is actually very common in healthy relationships. What is not, what we're not talking about with sacrifice is one person always giving and the other person always taking. We're not talking, that's not what we're talking about when we're talking sacrifice. We're not talking about a resentment filled self denial, meaning I'm just going to be the martyr. I will keep saying, I'll do it your way. I never feel like that season changes. That's not what we're talking about. And we're not talking about losing your identity to keep the relationship going. We're not talking about losing your identity to keep the relationship going. You should be able to be authentic in your relationship and recognize that's not what we mean when we're talking about sacrifice. Healthy sacrifice says, sometimes I lie down, but I may lie down so that you can get up, and other times I will get up and you have to lie down. It's not about losing, it's about investing in us. And I think that's the key, really. And maybe even change, if sacrifice feels if that word feels some kind of way for you, you may even see investment. Okay. Where in your relationship have you seen the investment or sacrifice strengthen your bond? And do you make sacrifices, or does it feel one-sided? Are you willing to make those sacrifices? Okay. I don't know what number we're on. Okay. Courtney's good. Courtney is a good note taker. Number 10. Mistakes aren't fatal. Forgiveness is frequent. Okay. So you may be surprised that people in relationships forgive often, and they don't. Every mistake is not a reason to end this thing. Okay. You'll find that in healthy relationships, mistakes aren't fatal. At least most mistakes aren't fatal, and forgiveness is frequent. Okay. That's important. Yes, sacrifices about relationship or relational investments. Absolutely. Mistakes aren't fatal, which means I made a mistake and you may be really upset by the mistake, but we are willing to work through that mistake. We're not willing to just drop the commitment at every turn. Every time there is a mistake or a misunderstanding, we're saying, I'm out of here. Mistakes aren't fatal, but forgiveness is frequent. Nobody is perfect. We all understand that. In a healthy relationships, mistakes are followed by genuine apologies, acceptance of responsibility, forgiveness, and repair. Now, hear this part, not endless punishment. Oh my gosh, Selah, think about that for a minute. I'm going to read it again. Mistakes are followed by genuine apologies, acceptance of responsibility, forgiveness, and repair, not endless punishment. If you are constantly trying to punish the person for the exact same thing, that is not a healthy state. Okay? Forgetting an anniversary can lead to repair efforts. It should not lead to a month of you not talking to each other. Okay? We're gonna sit down and discuss, okay, are you just so busy that you forgot our anniversary? What's going on, and how can I help you navigate so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed that you would forget such an important date? Right? So we're talking, how do we repair it? Or you can just simply say, hey, that really hurt my feelings, that our anniversary was not top of the mind. I really want you moving forward to put this on your calendar. I want to be celebrated, and here is what I'm needing. And in fact, even though our anniversary was a week ago, I still want to go out and I still want to have that experience, right? Give your partner, give yourself the opportunity to redo. If there's a mistake, you can go, okay, is there a way we can redo? Let's go back. We messed up. I messed up. Is there a way? Sometimes there's not, but sometimes there is. Sometimes there's an opportunity, like again, this example of forgetting an anniversary. Like, I forgot. Well, you can't go back and make the anniversary date be there, but you can go and say, okay, we didn't celebrate it that day, but it's not too late for us. Let's go back. Let's recreate what we wanted and move forward. It's about healing and not punishment. Okay. Imperfections don't have to destroy love. They can actually strengthen it if you handle it with grace. Okay. Are you handling your partner's mistakes with grace, or are you handling it with a gavel? Are you handling their mistakes with grace, or are you handling it with a gavel? You guys know what the gavel is, the thing that the judge holds with the sentence. So are you, when they come to you and you see they've made a mistake, are you saying, hey, listen, I understand. Let's work through how we can do this differently or better moving forward? Or are you there, the judge and jury, ready to give them their sentence? Okay. How do you respond when your partner messes up, with grace or grudges? Are you a person that responds with grace or grudges? Or, as I said earlier, grace or the gavel? These are important things for us to recognize, that everybody is going to mistake. If you find couples that are happy and healthy, that doesn't mean that they don't ever blow it, but that means that they are proficient in forgiveness. And honestly, the better the communication, sometimes though the blowing it doesn't happen as often, but it happens, right? And so it's still important for us to recognize that we're not expecting perfection, but what we are expecting is to be able to say, okay, this doesn't have to be fatal. It can be, I hear the gavel, but I speak with grace. Okay. Does that mean you feel like you receive the gavel? And if so, again, you can still say, oftentimes I want to share more, but it feels like I'm being spoken to with harshness, or I'm being reprimanded. How can I receive the grace that I feel like I'm able to give to you? I would like to feel more of that grace. I would like for us to discuss ways that we can improve our communication so that I feel safe, because I want both of us to feel safe in this relationship. All right. I'm going to ask you, that's the 10. I actually have an extra bonus here. But before I do that one, does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Any questions? As you're maybe typing, I'm going to go ahead and share really quickly that space is normal. This is a bonus. Space is normal. You will find that in healthy relationships, time apart doesn't have to mean disconnection. Alone time, personal hobbies, friendships outside of the relationship, these things can help keep the individuals balanced. Okay. So again, a wife may go on a girls' trip, or a husband may go out on a guy's night, things like that. It doesn't have to be a jealousy issue. It doesn't have to be an insecurity issue. It's simply, hey, this is actually healthy for them to have interests outside of me. Love does not have to suffocate. It can be allowed to breathe. Do you allow your partner to have space without taking it personally? Hey, you actually, in healthy relationships, is actually encouraged. Go out. You haven't been out in months. You haven't done things in months. Go out and do something fun. Go catch a movie. Go do this. Go do that. Why? Because you want that individual to be healthy, and you want to be healthy as an individual. And together you can come together and be a strong team. So these are 10, well, actually 11 things that you will find in healthy relationships that you may be surprised at. I hope this helped. If you guys have any comments or questions, by all means, feel free to let me know. I don't see any more comments or questions. So I'm assuming that means we're all good. You guys already know that I'm going to be here next Thursday. Make sure you're joining me every Thursday. If you're not able to join, that you are catching the replay, because the replays are very, very powerful. You can catch, if you have not subscribed to my channel on YouTube, please do that as well. Question. What recommendations can you provide for someone who only hears / perceives the gavel? Um, so actually, I would say asking that person. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, Courtney, excuse me, you're saying the other person, partner, feels like when you're talking to them that you're being a gavel, and you're trying to see, and let me know if this is correct, you're trying to see how you can change things or adjust so that they don't always hear the gavel. I actually would ask my partner, okay, what does that mean? Because sometimes we think we are communicating a certain way and someone else hears it differently. And because I am not your target audience or your target person, I would not be the best person to answer that. They would. Meaning, hey, it seems like when I give feedback, sometimes um, it's you're hearing it is that though I'm giving criticism or harshness. I don't want you to feel that way. So can you tell me what's the best way to give you feedback? Can you share with me things that I do that would make you more comfortable or more able to hear what I'm saying? Are there things that I do that make it difficult for you to hear what I'm saying? Are there patterns that I have that help or have created an environment where in which you don't feel like I'm giving you grace? Asking that person, and it doesn't have to be in conflict, because oftentimes we'll do it when the person's already angry. Well, tell me how you want me to say it. Well, in that moment, they don't want to talk to you right now. In that moment, they're angry with you or frustrated. But in a just a regular, hey, I want to have a little quick check in, or I have a quick question for you. You don't have to answer it now, but I would like you to get back with me. What are some things that I could do that would help me to be able to talk to you in a way that you don't feel like you're being reprimanded? And just let them have time to think about that. Because if you're the person who's constantly thinking about yourself, like if you're the person that's always taking classes, and I know, Courtney, you are a growth mindset kind of person, so you're constantly doing that, you may be thinking about, this is what I want him to do, this is what I need to do, this, all these things. But if your partner is not the same type of person who's always thinking about their thinking or their communication or what they need, asking them, hey, I want to ask you something, but you don't have to answer it right now, gives them the opportunity to actually think about it and say, can you give me an answer by Friday? I just want to improve at being a wife. You didn't attack them. You did not come at them in a crazy way, right? But again, you gave them that opportunity to start thinking about, what do I need? Because I know I don't like when Courtney does X, Y, or Z, but maybe I've never thought about it, what she could do differently. And so I'm going to get that, gives them the opportunity to think about it, put it in their own words, and just say, hey, I'm following up on Friday. Hey, did you think about anything that I could do differently or better so that when I communicate, it doesn't feel like I'm being harsh to you? Way that you could receive what I have to say in a way that I intended, because I intended for it to be full of grace, but that may not be the way it always feels. So what I could do to be better at that. Okay. Again, you guys give me some feedback. Okay, so Karen says, I'll start with a statement. I don't mean this as harsh as it's going to sound, but I don't know any other way to put it. Okay, so yes, and sometimes I think even that can help. It's like a softener. Hey, I'm not trying to be harsh, but also ask. You guys are all filled with the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, what's the way that I can say this that doesn't feel so harsh? I know we're a little over time, but I want to address this really quickly. It is very different. The way we address things is so vitally important, right? And so if you say, I don't mean this as a harsh statement, it's one of those things is like, I don't mean to be offensive, but you fat. Well, you could have said that a different way, right? And so just because we give that softener doesn't necessarily mean that we've actually taken time to think about how to say that. Now, with that being said, I think the softener is a good idea if you don't know another way to say it. I tell people all the time, using the I messages. I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling happy, scared, sad. because this thing happened, here is what I would like. Try to avoid saying you in that statement. So I'm feeling frustrated. Thank you, babe. I'm feeling frustrated because this is the third bill that came. This is the third check that was returned from our account. I would like to know how we can get our finances together without you feeling like I'm trying to take over. That is very different from you keep blowing the money. You keep messing up, right? That's very different. And so, hey, I'm feeling frustrated because I see this is the third return check. How can we work together so that da da da? Or I'm feeling frustrated because these people have been at our house for 3 days and I thought they were going to be here just extra 3 days. I thought they were just going to be here for a night. How can we work together without me, going off on anybody? There is a way that we can say that. And you guys, of course, you can reach out to me and I may make that a part two in ways that we can address things more effectively. Okay. So Karen says that works for them. And that goes kind of back to that first thing that we talked about, that first thing of just the idea of knowing what works for you and your family. So if you say, putting that little preface on it of saying, hey, I don't mean to say this in a harsh way. I don't know another way to say it. If that works for you guys, go for it, as long as it works. But again, there are ways that we can say things that are direct while also not being harsh. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the comments. Let me know again if you have any questions or topics that you want me to cover. Join me back here next week. If you and your partner say, we may need some communication stuff, reach out to me. I would love to work with you and do some communication classes and stuff like that with you guys. So thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging on. We're about 6 minutes over time, but again, I appreciate you staying here. If you need anything, let me know. And if not, I will see you back here next Thursday at 12 p.m. Have a great day.
Fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind and on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind and on my mental.